الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه من استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا اللهم بما علمتنا وزدنا اللهم علما وعملا إنك ولي ذلك والقادر عليه. أما بعد، فهذا درسنا في شرح بلوغ المرام للحافظ ابن حجر رحمه الله وغفر الله لنا وله ولسائر المسلمين آمين. So we're continuing our class in explanation of Book of Fiqh, how to worship, the actions of worship mainly, and we're still in the chapter of prayer. And this is a classic work by great scholar Imam Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah, and we left off in the chapter of a Sutrah. كنا وقفنا في باب Sutrah. A Sutrah is the barrier that a person has to put in front of him when he's praying. And we mentioned last time the purpose of the Sutrah, first of all, is to designate the place where a person is basically where his sajda places. Okay, and beyond that, he places something like a stick, or it could be a wall, it could be a pillar in the masjid, and these things. So a person, if he wants to pass by when I'm praying and I have this stick in front of me, then he can pass by in front of the stick. He should not pass by between me and the stick. Okay? Because we mentioned last time the hadith is a great warning for a person to pass right in front of a praying person. It's a major sin. So to designate that position, we put the sutra. This also adds to the khushu'. A person, when I'm praying, and I know this is the limit of my prayer, I should have khushu'. I should not extend my vision, looking here and there, beyond, at the scenery or at the people. I should be looking just at the stick that I have in front of me. That's where my sajda. That's the sunnah when we're making salah. Our eyesight, vision should be at the place of the sujood, the place of the sujood. So also it causes some relaxation to people walking around, because now they know where they can walk, right? Otherwise they're going to be always confused. Where should I walk, here or there? No, a person has this stick. He has a pillar. Okay, I know where I can walk now. Because sometimes just person will come pray right in the middle of the masjid. That's going to cause confusion to someone. Now he has to be careful and doesn't know, is he praying? I don't know. What should I do? Should I go behind him? Can I go in front of him? It's awkward. So this is Islam, alhamdulillah, organized. Prayer is organized. We have imam, okay, we have followers. Everything's organized. Also, the way a person prays is organized in something which is neat and orderly. So last hadith we took on Sabrah ibn Ma'bad al-Juhani radiyallahu anhu. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليستتر أحدكم في صلاته ولو بسهم أخرجه الحاكم وابن خزيمة في صحيحه وأبو يعلى والحاكم والبيهقي وابن أبي شيبة وصححه الألباني رحمه الله وقال الحاكم على شرط مسلم. هذا الحديث إن شاء الله صحيح. This hadith we left off, we didn't finish it last time, is the hadith أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ليستتر أحدكم في صلاته ولو بسهم. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, let one of you must, so order. لام هنا لام الأمر ليستتر والأمر الأصل في الأمر للوجوب. So this is one of the proofs that the scholars say that taking the barrier, the sutra, is wajib. Okay, it's obligatory. We said there's difference of opinion. Okay, we'll mention the proof, the other scholars they give, but this is one of the proofs in the chapter. that Prophet ﷺ said, when one of you is praying, he must take a sutra, even if it be just even if it be just an arrow. You stick an arrow in the ground. But we said based on your last class, the length of the sutra should be about 1 1/3 feet. Okay, so taller than this, yeah. Should be taller than this, 1 1/3 feet, or 1 foot, Okay. So an arrow should be in front of him. Must be. So هذا من أدلة الوجوب. So this is from the proofs of obligation. So and we'll come to other proofs. Other proofs the scholar didn't mention in this work. I'll mention some of them. The other scholars mentioned. عن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه عند أبي داود وابن ماجه قال صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا صلى أحدكم فليصلي إلى سترة وليدن منها ولا يدع أحدا يمر بين يديه فإذا جاء أحد يمر فليقاتله فإنه شيطان. So this hadith, Prophet ﷺ said, when one of you prays, then he must pray at the sutra. فليصلي. اللام هنا أيضا لام الأمر. لام أمر. نفس الأداة مذكورة في الحديث السابق ليستتر. لام الأمر. So this hadith also says, when he prays, you must. He said, when one of you prays, he must take sutra. Based on the Arabic wording, فَلْيُصَلِّ وَلْيَدْنُ مِنْهَا, and he should get close to it. How close? Scholars say about 3 dhira, which is like 1.5 feet. So 3 of them, 4.5 feet. Okay, roughly how close you are to the arrow, or to the stick, or to the wall. Okay, so that's this distance you want to be, and the length of it, as you said, 1 1/3 or 1 foot. Okay, so and then the hadith goes on, وَلَا يَدَعْ أَحَدٌ, and he should not let anyone pass in front of him, meaning between him and the sutra. And if one tries to pass between him and the sutra, then he should repel him. كما قال الشيخ ابن باز بالتي هي أحسن. قال يقاتله يعني يدفعه لا يقتله لا يضربه. يعني إذا أصر على المرور فالإثم عليه، هو الآثم. أنت تنبهه بالتنبيه. So the point is that when the Prophet ﷺ said, if someone tries to now pass between you, this is your sacred space now. Because this is where I'm praying, right? Between me and the sutra. You could say the end of the sajjada, okay? And then you put something there. So this is your place. If someone tries to pass, then try to repel him. I mean, just put your arm out, and let him know that he's not allowed, because this is affecting my prayer now. So you just put your arm out and let him know. And then if he insists and wants to, be, troublesome, then he maybe doesn't know. He doesn't know better. He didn't know the ruling. Don't fight. Doesn't mean fight. Doesn't mean hit. Just try to remind him. And then if he goes. Then later, after you're done with the prayer, say, brother, this is why I did that, because of this hadith, and explain. So, and why we try to repel him? فَإِنَّهُ شَيْطَانٌ. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم يعني إنه يعمل فعل الشيطان وأنه حثه عليه الشيطان، أو معناه أنه معه القرين، لأن كل إنسان معه قرين جني، فالشيطان هذا الإنسان يدفعه إلى المرور بين يدي المصلي. So when the scholars say the Prophet ﷺ said he's shaitan, the one who's trying to pass between you and the place of your sutra, it means that he is being driven by the shaitan. Shaitan is whispering to him to do these things. So that's what it means. Okay, another hadith, that hadith clearly for obligation. Another hadith جاء عند ابن خزيمة في صحيحه من حديث ابن عمر رضي الله عنه لا قال صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تصلي إلا إلى سترة إلا إلى سترة ولا تدع أحدا يمر بين يديك فإن أبى فلتقاتله فإن معه القرين صححه الألباني رحمه الله. So this next hadith also authenticated by Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah. He said, one of you must not, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, one of you, when he prays, he should not pray except to the sutra. He must not. لا تصلي إلا لسترة, meaning it's a must. It's an obligation. Similar meaning to the which preceded. Okay, this is all statements. We say from Sunnah, there's statements, Sunnah Qawliya, the statements of the Prophet ﷺ, these are all statements, right? Hunak Sunnah Fi'liya, also his actions. These are all proofs. You know, we're supposed to follow the Prophet ﷺ primarily in what he tells us to do, right? Ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul. Allah said, obey Allah and obey the Messenger. وَلَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. Allah said he does not speak from his desires, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It's only revelation sent down to him, right? So when it says obey Allah, Allah said obey Allah, it means obey the Quran, right? Because the Quran is what? The speech of Allah. Speech of Allah. When Allah says in the Quran, as many of us, we memorize these ayat, we read these ayat, Ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul. What does it mean when you say obey the messenger? Who knows from the Shabab? Who can tell us when it says obey the messenger? How do we obey the messenger? Yeah, follow the sunnah, right? So we're talking about, and where do we find the sunnah? In the hadith, right? Sunnah is in the hadith. Quran is Allah's speech. The hadith is the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam's speech, but it's a revelation, meaning he's only inspired he's ordered by Allah to transmit the hadith. Okay. Otherwise, what does it mean? You know, Allah said, "Obey ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul." If we only have Quran, then it doesn't make sense, right? Why does it say obey the Messenger? If we only have Quran, then we only should read the Quran and do what the Quran says. Okay, why would Allah munazzah anil abath? Allah is free from useless, vain talk. He doesn't say anything that's not necessary. So when Allah said obey Allah and obey the Messenger, meaning there's something to obey outside of the Quran, right? There must be, otherwise Allah is saying something for no use. Allah would not say something for no reason. Right? Everything is for a reason. So there must be something to obey besides the Quran, and that's the Sunnah. When we say Sunnah, we mean the hadith, authentic hadith. Okay? So you notice when the scholars, they mention the hadith, they mention this is sahih, this is da'if, this is authentic, this is weak. Right? And this is based upon the science of hadith, and we can go into more detail of that later. But there's a way to determine whether this hadith is authentic or is weak. So these hadith, inshallah, are all authentic, we mentioned. And now we said that's the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also his action. His action also, he used to demonstrate to us how we should pray, how we should fast, how we should make hajj, how we should have good manners. All these things he demonstrated to us. So we follow, we imitate his actions. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Allah said, indeed, in the Messenger of Allah, you have a good example. People follow role model. Some people, they choose to follow role models, which are good, and some people follow role models which are bad. Some people, they imitate their parents, which if they're good parents, it's a good thing. Some people, they imitate their leaders. Some people, they imitate sports athletes or entertainment people, idols they call them, the sports stars. and they're not, good role models most of the time. They're not good role models. But our role model is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was the best creature, the best creation. No one like him. He was a human being, but Allah inspired him and guided him to that which is best. So what did he do? How did he pray? It's reported كان صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا صلى في الفضاء ليس فيه شيء يستتر به غرز بين يديه حربة فصلى إليها والناس وراءه. There's one narration, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he used to pray in the open space, like in the desert or open land, where there's no walls, or such, to pray next to or in front of. He would take a dagger, like again about a foot or more, longer dagger, and he would stick it in the ground and use that as the sutra and pray behind. Or anaza, can yattakhid anaza. He used to also take a stick, a walking stick. It's a stick with a sharp tip that people use to walk, walking stick. And he would put that also sometimes in front of him. وأحيانا كان يعرض راحلته فليصلي إليها متفق عليه. This hadith, this is authentic in Bukhari and Muslim. The highest level of authenticity, hadith Bukhari and Muslim. He used to also let his animal, like his camel, sit in front of him, and he would pray behind it, or other such animal. Or someone could take his car if he's out, traveling or something. He could pray behind the car, pray behind a tree, or in the like. Okay. So these are some of the evidences. Also from the actions of the Salaf or the Sahaba. The Sahaba also demonstrated to us how this should be done. The importance of the Sutrah, We'll mention some of the narrations. Basically summarize it. Umar radiallahu anh, one time he saw one of the companions. He was praying between pillars. He wasn't praying to the pillar. He was praying, with nothing in front of him. So Umar radiallahu anh, leader of the believers, he took him by his back of his neck and directed him to pray behind the pillar. Okay? And told him, this is where you have to pray. You have to take sutra. If it was not a big deal, if he wouldn't do this, he's praying. He would not take him in the middle of the prayer, and redirect him unless it was something wajib, something important, right? If it's something sunnah, he would leave him. And just after he's done, then tell him, brother, you should, pray to the sutra. But the fact that he told him in the middle of the prayer means he's doing something wrong. And what does it mean, wajib? Wajib means a person doesn't do it, he's sinful. That's wajib. Wajib means obligation. So this is based upon these evidences. Person who does not take the sutra, he's sinful. His prayer, salatu sahiha, tujzi'uhu, it counts. The prayer counts. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that his prayer doesn't count, but he's sinful in it, and he doesn't have to make it up, but he should learn to do it the right way. And it was so basically we get from this, the Prophet ﷺ used to, as a habit, take this. On the day of Eid, he would have the sutra. On the day of Arafah, it's reported Ibn Abbas set for him the stick to pray towards, and the people prayed behind him. And so this was his regular routine, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so now we'll come to the other evidence, which is the evidence of. We can also mention there's other evidence. Ibn Umar, the son of Umar radiallahu anh, كان إذا لم يجد سبيلا إلى سارية من سواري المسجد قال لي ولني ظهرك. Reported from one of the Sahaba, Nafi', Mawla Ibn Umar. Nafi' said that Ibn Umar, radiallahu anhuma, the great Sahabi, he used to always try to find a pillar to pray behind. And if you could not find a pillar, meaning sometimes the Sahaba had already taken all the pillars, okay? There was no open pillar for him to use as sutra. Then he would tell me to turn his my back to him, sit in front of him, like, so he could pray toward my back and take me as sutra. This is also one way. You find your brother sitting in front of you in the row, and you come, you're praying in the second row, he's in the first row, and he's just sitting there. You can pray to his back, right? And he will be now your sutra. He'll be your barrier. And this was the case with Ibn Umar. He did that. Of course, you should be praying behind someone you don't think is going to leave, right? You figure he's going to stay. Shouldn't be a kid, who may move a lot, distract you even, or he might leave, and you have no more sutra. Pray behind someone you think is, or you tell him, brother, can you stay for a second? I'm going to pray behind you, so you'll be my sutra. You have that communication, understanding, then there's no problem later. Also reported from Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, قال لقد رأيت أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يبتدرون السواري عند المغرب حتى يخرج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم رواه البخاري. Also Anas said, I used to see at the time of Salat al-Maghrib the Sahaba, generally the companions, and they're the best example for us after the prophets and messengers, because they are the students of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They learned and they taught to us, they transmitted to us all these teachings, right? The Sahaba. So they're the best of people. He said, I used to see the Sahaba at the time of Maghrib prayer, they used to rush towards the pillars. Why? To take the pillars of the masjid as the sutra for them. So this is, we mentioned now the sunnah, now we mentioned the action of the Sahaba and the opinion of many Sahaba. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu يقول أربع من الجفاء وذكر منها أن يصلي الرجل إلى غير سترة. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said, 4 things are from the harshness, or not not being being rude, being coarse and rough, and not being upon correctness, wrong things, you could say. And from them he said that a person should pray to other than a sutra. This is min al jafa. Jafa means like rough and uncultured and incorrect behavior. Okay. Also, one more proof of mention. وهذا لعله من أقوى الأدلة كما ذكره الشيخ الألباني رحمه الله. قال مما يؤكد وجوبها أي سترة أنها سبب شرعي لعدم بطلان الصلاة. سبب شرعي لعدم بطلان الصلاة بمرور المرأة البالغة والحمار والكلب الأسود كما جاء في الحديث. So also it's a way. Why is it important to have sutra? It will avoid a person being totally distracted in his prayer, because some things will distract him more severely than others, as mentioned in the hadith that will come. Maybe we won't get to it today, maybe next time. Prophet ﷺ said 3 things will violate a person's prayer if they pass between him and his sutra. One is the black dog, number 2 the donkey, number 3 the mature woman, the grown woman, as a source of distraction. Meaning these 3 things will distract him from his prayer. So how would he save himself from this distraction? To have a safe place for him, okay, which is between him and the sutra, that these things can pass beyond. When they pass beyond the sutra, beyond the pillar, then they don't violate his prayer. They won't distract him, because they're beyond his vision, and he's not focused in this place that he has. Okay, as the scholars explain, like why these 3 things. Just quickly I'll mention, since I mentioned the hadith. Why? Because some people try to, mock Islam and try to say, oh, you're saying that a woman is like a dog. A'udhu billah. Doesn't mean that. This is a slander against Islam. Nowhere did the hadith say that a woman is like a dog, is like a donkey. That a woman is like, it doesn't say that. This is a person who is not using his intellect. He's trying to cause problems, trying to misguide people. It says that it means these three things will cause a distraction to the man or person when he's praying. Okay? The black dog is mentioned in the hadith that it is shaitan. It is shaitan. It is the devil. And so of course the devil is going to cause distraction. The black, not any dog, black dog. And the donkey, it is this hadith that when it brays and makes the sound of the donkey, then we should say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لأن الشيطان جعله ينهق. That the shaitan, he causes it to bray. So the donkey has accompaniment and association with the shaitan. And the shaitan, one of his greatest goals is to what? To disrupt our prayer. So if you see the donkey or the black dog, for sure this is causing disruption and coming from the shaitan. And the woman causes disruption. As we know, Al-Mar'a tuftin Al-Mar'a. The woman can cause distraction and cause a person to be distracted. Man will be distracted by her because of her beauty. Okay, and she passes right in front of him. It will cause distraction for him. So the thing that is similar and shared between these three things is the distraction, the element of distraction. Okay, وَالنَّقْص فِي الْخُشُوعِ, not in the physical qualities that a dog shares with a woman or shares with a donkey. It has nothing to do with that. Okay, so that's how the scholars explain. And some scholars they explain, أن البطلان المراد بالبطلان الصلاة هنا النقص في الخشوع، نقص في الأجر، وذهاب الذهن والقلب عن المطلوب وهو المناجاة الرب سبحانه وتعالى. فالمرأة تنقص الصلاة على درجة هذه بسبب المرور بين يدي المصلي، وكذلك الكلب والكلب الأسود والحمار. وهذا قال الإمام القرطبي قال بهذا، وكذلك الإمام الحافظ ابن رجب رحمه الله وغيره من أهل العلم حمله على هذا المعنى. So this, when he says that these three things they violate the prayer, it means they decrease the reward of the praying person. Okay, because of the severity of the distraction, as you mentioned in these three things. And this is the explanation of Imam al-Qurtubi, the great Mufassir, and Imam Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali rahimahullah. But anyways, you're not allowed to let anything pass, let alone a donkey or even a man. As you said, you should try to prevent it. Okay, but if it passes, it won't have the same effect, as a woman or a donkey or a black dog. Okay, could be another animal, could be a sheep, could be a cat. Okay, anything that's passing between you and the sutra right in front of you is going to cause distraction. Okay, it's not specific to these three things, but it's more severe in these three things. Any questions? I should stop.
Yes, the woman they're talking about this one is even the mahram woman. If you have your mahram, you cannot pass by this. Or how about if woman praying, not a woman passing in front of her?
As far as I know, it's the same for any. Either it applies to one's wife for sure, because the wife would have the same, distraction to her husband as to any male or female, and also female can also distract, a female, so there's a distraction because of the nature of the woman. Yeah.
What about the saying of Aisha radiallahu anha? Rasul used to pray tahajjud, and her feet would be in front of makes sujood and then he pushes her to make the side.
Yeah, I mean, she was not passing. She was just sleeping. She wasn't walking. So that's a little different. And there's also she was, uh, it was just a way for him to make this sujood, because there was a room was so small. SubhanAllah, the room of the Prophet, Hujrat Aisha, was so small that you could not have a person sleeping and person praying at the same time. You have to take turns. So she has to move her legs so he can make sajda. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That's how small the room was. So that's the purpose. She was in front. The feet were in his way, so he would nudge her to pull her feet back, so he can make. So it's not the same. It's not the walking in front. Like the
This was for the mocking where after the sutra or
before.
I thought nothing can walk before your sutra.
Yes, nothing can, but these three things more emphasized can't, because they cause more distraction than regular things, regular people. Ah, aywa. Inshallah. The question was, first question was, does the wife of the husband count also, that she would violate his khushu and his prayer if she walks in front of him and the sutra, between him and the sutra? And the answer is yes. The scholars explain she would cause distraction to him, just as similar to another woman would cause distraction to him. And as far as I know, we can check. It applies to woman also. A woman would distract, in any case, can distract a woman when she's praying. Um, and then also the question was, what about the hadith that Aisha radiallahu anha, she used to pray, she used to be sleeping, sorry, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would pray tahajjud, and then he would nudge her to move her feet from his path to make sajda. We said this is a case where the room was small and she was not walking in front, rather she was just praying, and the point that one cannot do is walk from right to left or left to right, press in front. That's what's prohibited upon that person, and it would affect the praying person's concentration. But if it's just moving the feet back and forth, this is minimal movement, minimal distraction, and so this would not be have the same ruling. And plus, furthermore, it was dark. It was dark, and there was no vision to be distracted. You could also say it was tahajjud. They didn't have anwar. They didn't have lamps and such. So obviously, a person would, the more you can be away from any distraction in your prayer, the better, right? Nowadays, if you're praying, and there's lamps and so on, you shouldn't, and you have space. As you said, the room was very tight. Then you should eliminate anything from your peripheral vision that would distract you and so on. But in that case, it was dark and so on. You could understand that there was no distraction, in that case. Okay, any other question? So now we mentioned this is the proofs of the scholars who said it's wajib to take sutra. Now there's also the other scholars وصراحة هم جمهور قال هذا القول بالوجوب، هذا قول عن الإمام أحمد والإمام مالك والإمام الشوكاني وشيخ الألباني وغيرهم من أهل العلم. وهناك قول ثاني وهو أن السترة مستحبة، وهذا عند جمهور أهل العلم، وقال به الشيخ ابن عثيمين رحمه الله. ودليلهم أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كما في حديث ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما كان في منى، وابن عباس كان راكبا على حمار ودخل بين الصفوف، وذكر أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يصلي بمنى إلى غير جدار، إلى غير جدار. هنا الشاهد. So what is the proof of the other opinion, that it's recommended only to have the sutra but not wajib? basically this hadith, that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma said that he saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Mina fi Hajjat al-Wada. This is in the farewell pilgrimage, meaning shortly before the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam praying in Mina, and he was not praying to a wall. He was not praying to a wall. Okay. So this statement, first of all, قال أهل العلم أن هنا قد يفهم ويفسر أن نفي الجدار لا ينفي السترة مطلقا، إنما ينفي الجدار مقيدا. The scholars explain that when he said he did not pray to a wall, that does not indicate that he didn't have some tall rock or something, or had a stick or so on that he had, but it only negates that he was praying to a wall. Okay, so it's not really sarih, it's not clear, that it does not negate that the Prophet ﷺ had. It doesn't say صلى إلى غير سترة بل قال صلى إلى غير جدار. هناك فرق بين العبارتين. Why? Because Ibn Abbas said he did not say the Prophet ﷺ did not have a sutra. He just said he didn't have the wall, and there's a difference between the two. Obviously, it's clear. And so also this principle, أهل العلم قال إذا ورد احتمال بطل الاستدلال. When there is some possibilities of understanding this or that, then there's not very strong proof. بطل is الاستدلال به غير وارد، لا يعني لا يتخذ دليلا. You can't take anything as a proof when it is gray. It has many possibilities to be understood as this or that. It's not clear. Okay, so we can't really take this and ignore all the evidence that we mentioned from the Prophet ﷺ, his statement, you have to take sutra, and you have to get close to it, and his actions, he did it all the time. Okay, and the Sahaba, how they would, correct people in their prayer to take the sutra. All these evidences are strong and they're very clear. He is sariha, it's very clear on the topic, and this hadith is not really clear on the topic. Okay, so that's how the scholars respond. Furthermore, there's also Imam Shawkani rahimahullah قال نعم قال أن هذا الحديث حديث ابن عباس المستدل به عند القائلين بالاستحباب بوب الإمام هذا الحديث في البخاري، والإمام البخاري بوب عليه باب، قال باب السترة، سترة الإمام سترة لمن خلفه. فماذا فهم الإمام البخاري؟ لم يفهم من الحديث هذا أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يتخذ سترة، بل فهم أن المألوف المعهود والمعتاد أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه كان يتخذ سترة. إنما استفاد من هذا الحديث أن سترة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان سترة لمن خلفه، فلا يضر أن ابن عباس يمر بين الصفوف. هذا هو الشاهد، وهذا هو الفهم عند الإمام البخاري. So Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, he explained this hadith is in Bukhari, that Ibn Abbas passed between the rows and he saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam praying, and he did not pray to a wall. Imam al-Bukhari, he understood, he said, the chapter of the barrier of sutra of the Imam counts as a sutra for those who are behind him, meaning the people in the row. So for example, it means that if we're praying here, the Imam is praying, and we're lined up in 2-3 rows, a person wants to come into the masjid and finds a gap, he can walk between the rows, right? He can walk between the rows of the followers, because all he cannot do is pass right in front of the Imam, because what counts is the Imam sutra. This is also an important point, because what did Ibn Abbas do? He was riding a donkey, and he rode between the rows on the donkey to get to an open spot, a gap in the prayer, in the row. And that does not bother anyone's prayer, because there's a need. I mean, he wouldn't do that with no need, because obviously there's going to be some element of distraction. It doesn't mean you can just pass between rows for no reason, but there was a need to do it. But the point is that the sutra was not violated, because the Imam sutra, that's what counts. So basically, Imam al-Bukhari, that's all he took from this hadith. Okay? Meaning, this is the main point of the hadith. He did not understand at all that the Prophet ﷺ would not have taken a sutra, because it was well known. He always took sutra. Okay? And the same Hajjat al-Wada, same narrator, Ibn Abbas said, أن النبي أنه ركب سترة في يوم عرفة للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. هنا يوم منى. كيف يعني النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يهتم بالسترة يوم في عرفة ولم يهتم به في منى؟ بعيد جدا. Okay, how would the Prophet ﷺ have Ibn Abbas take for him the sutra, put for him the sutra and the Arafah, and would not have him put the sutra in Mina? So he said this is a lot of possibilities, understood this way, that way. More likely to be understood that he had sutra. More likely to be understood. And bottom line, also Shaykh Al-Albani رحمه الله قال هذه الزيادة إلى غير السترة فيه كلام يعني هو مال إلى تضعيفه تضعيفها الزيادة. Furthermore, the statement, part of the hadith that said he didn't pray to a wall, this addition, Shaykh Al-Albani said, he mentioned in the Silsila al-Da'ifa, that it's not very strong. He leaned towards the weakness of this statement. So then it would fall in line with all the other evidence that you mentioned. So the bottom line is that the closest أقرب الأقوال للوجوب أنه واجب والإنسان يأثم بترك السترة. وعموما الإنسان ما ينبغي أن لا يتهاون ولا يتساهل بالسنن، ولو اتخذ بكلام القائلين بالاستحباب، فينبغي أن يسارع إلى امتثال وإلى يعني اتخاذ السترة بأنها، ولا يقول أنها سنة ليست مهمة. لما النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يهتم بها ويأمر بها، فأنا يعني ليس لي أن أقول أنا ليس بواجب، بل أمتثل وأسارع. Even if a person says it's sunnah, we shouldn't say belittle the sunnah. Either it's wajib or sunnah. It's very easy, to just pray next to a wall or pray to, a pillar, or so on. It's easy. So a person should hasten to do these things. So this is no. That's the research that I was able to do on this matter from the statements of the scholars. So this is any question on that? The ruling most likely wajib, and then any question on we've taken so far?
The hadith that said the Prophet used animal as a sutra. Does that mean since an animal can be used as a sutra, what if an animal crosses you between you and your sutra while you're praying?
Yeah. Sorry, if another animal crosses, again, you're only responsible between you and the sutra. And if he passes between you and the sutra, you have to prevent it. Okay. One time in one narration, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam was praying, and a sheep, came running across. فألصق بطنه بالجدار فمر الشاة من خلفه. The Prophet ﷺ, when the sheep was coming, he rushed up to put his chest into the wall, so the sheep could not pass. So this is هذه الدرجة كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يهتم بالمحافظة على السترة. So this close shows that he was very keen to keep the sutra in any condition. There's other narrations to that effect. So you said the distance should be about 5 feet, 4 or 5 feet between you and the sutra, you and the wall, and so on. Could be a tree also, or a bed, or back of a person, you mentioned. نعم كان يصلي إذ جاءت شاة تسعى بين يديه فساعاها حتى ألصق بطنه بالحائط. That's the narration. وصلى صلاة المكتوبة فضم يده فلما صلى قالوا يا رسول الله أحدث في الصلاة شيء؟ قال لا إلا أن الشيطان أراد أن يمر بين يدي فخنقته حتى وجدت برد لسانه على يدي ويم الله لولا ما سبقني إليه أخي سليمان لربطت إلى سارية من سواري المسجد حتى يطوف بها الولدان أي ولدان أهل المدينة. Also the one narration, the Prophet ﷺ was praying. In the middle of the prayer, he made a fist with his hand. And then after they prayed, the Sahaba said, "Oh Rasulullah, did something happen in the prayer? Why did you make this motion?" He said, "Nothing except that the shaitan wanted to try to pass between me and the sutra. So I strangled him. And so I felt the coolness of his tongue on my hand. And by Allah, if not that Sulaiman, my brother, had come before me, I would have tied him to the pillar from the pillars of the masjid so that the children of Al-Medina could play with the shaitan." So this is, of course, this is a sutra, anything can pass between. Of course, this is a Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, this is his, mu'jiza. But the point is that he, was keen on the sutra. Yeah. So also we have a few more minutes, inshallah. We can take the next the matter, which is the person should try to prevent anyone to fall to pass between him and the sutra. We said فَلْيَدْفَعْهُ وَلْيُقَاتِلْهُ فَلْيُقَاتِلْهُ. We said he should not be fighting, but just to give an indication and give some notice to the person not to pass between. So that hadith is also mentioned in the chapter. Yeah, we mentioned that. So any other questions so far? Then inshallah we can conclude this chapter. There's one hadith that فَإِن لَمْ يَجِدْ شَيْئًا فَلْيَخُطْ خَطًّا. يعني إن لم يجد عصا أو غيره فليخط خطا ثم لا يضره من مر بين يديه. لكن هذا الحديث ضاعفه أهل العلم، يعني لا يتقوى للاستدلال والاستناد. So this next another hadith is mentioned in the chapter that the Prophet ﷺ reported that he said, if you don't find a stick, you don't find an arrow or a wall, then you can just put a line, mark a line, and then no problem, whatever passes beyond the line, and like a line in the sand or the end of the sajjada, like you pray a line between the blue and the next the white, yellow. The yellow would be your sutra, but actually this hadith is weak. There's a limit to the sutra. It has to be based upon the hadith, 1 1/3 foot. The Prophet ﷺ said, مؤخرة الرحل مؤخرة الرحل أو السهم كما ورد. Because the hadith has mentioned about sutra, we have to, when there's a ruling and there's a statement, we have to understand it according to how the Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith, right? We cannot make up a new or come up with a new explanation, right? Unless there's an authentic hadith to indicate that. So the authentic hadith that we have, it says it should be like the length of the back of a camel, saddle, or an arrow, which are like a foot and a third, tall. It should have some, significance. It can't be like a line. So because that hadith is not authentic, we said it's a weak hadith that says it can be just a line. Okay. Okay. So inshallah we stop there, and we'll continue inshallah in the next class in the next chapter. Bab al-hath al-khushu' fi as-salah. والله تعالى أعلى وأعلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ووفق الله الجميع لما يحبه ويرضى اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات وجزاكم الله خيرا على حسن الاستماع.